Hey, experts listeners, I want to key you into something that we do very special here at Ops Experts Club, and that's a masterclass. We have a free masterclass called Foundations That Scale. And the great thing about this masterclass is it's for operation professionals who are growing businesses. One of the most dangerous things you can do as an operator is grow businesses on a foundations that's not stable. So in this particular masterclass, we take apart all of the inside pieces of your team, your tech, and how they're using time. And we make sure that you're building on a foundation that's stable. So if you want to check out a great masterclass completely for free, go to foundationsthatscale.com. We'll see you there.
Welcome to the Ops Experts Club with Aaron, Terryn, and Savannah. This podcast will take you behind the scenes of some of the finer details of multi-million-dollar companies. These ops experts have dealt with operations for scaling companies and well-established businesses with anywhere from small to large teams. If you've ever been deep into the details of a major company, then you know how much it takes, and these conversations are just for you. Welcome to the Ops Experts Club podcast.
Yes, Terryn, Ops Experts Club. Good to see you again today. How are you doing today, sir?
Oh man, thank you so much. I'm doing excellent today. How are you?
Yeah, I was sick all weekend, man. I feel like I never get sick, but I went down hard, like flu,
Dang.
and I was down for like 4 days in bed, like, and didn't eat. Like it was crazy. So I feel like a new man. I feel back from the dead right now, Terryn. Feeling good.
Wow. Yeah, it takes a lot to bring you down.
Man, well, thank you for that. What a little sweetheart. Anyway, hey, I'm excited to talk to you about, for all of our guests, those of you tuning in today, super excited to introduce you to a guy that, Terryn and I are in the underbelly of so many different operations, so many different clients doing operational kinds of things. But usually when Terryn and I start on the field, after you've been doing this for a certain amount of time, you just begin to recognize like all stars when you come into the field. It's like you don't have to be there very long. And this was one of those kind of guys that when we came to this team, they were trying to get some things in order, and there was a bunch of players on the field. One of the biggest like meetings that Terryn and I had ever walked into, where it's like, what? There are so many people on this call right now, but this is a guy that really stood out. And I've just been consistently impressed with this last year working with him. He works for Nehemiah Davis at Circle of Greatness. He's the chief marketing officer, and his name's Michael Tucker. So I'm going to bring him to stage without further ado. Michael, great to have you, man.
Hey,
Yeah,
so
dude.
glad to be here with you. Aaron, hope you get to feeling better, man. I know that's always rough being at home on a weekend when you finally have the time off from work to get some personal things done and being laid up in bed. So hope you're feeling better.
Well, thank you, man. But I'll tell you this, and I know you're wired like me, so you can appreciate it this way, is I'm like, I honestly was like, thank God it happened when it did, because otherwise it would have like knocked out like days worth of meetings. And like the 2 weeks before that was just a heavy, heavy set of weeks of traveling and meeting with people and doing annual plannings. And man, if I would have felt like that out abroad, it would have been awful. So thank you for the kind words, man.
Yeah, anytime.
So tell us a little bit about your journey. You've got to do a lot of things. You've gotten to do it for a lot of different people. Nehemiah Davis is a really big name. He does some pretty impressive stuff with challenges. Maybe you could give us a little bit of a context on Nehemiah. He's one of our high level retainer clients. But we'd love to hear from your perspective for our listeners, just kind of what he does and what you do for Nehemiah.
Hey guys. Yeah. So my name's Michael Tucker. I'm one of the CMOs and I do a little bit of ops, but marketing director for Nehemiah Davis and Circle of Greatness. And we provide done for you virtual event solutions. So people come to us, we run their virtual events from start to finish, funnels, ads, emails, everything. And we've been doing that for quite a while now. I think officially with Nehemiah, I've been, helping him in this space since probably 2018, 2019-ish, probably 2018. And, it's been a really cool journey to see Nehemiah. He's started out just running some events for himself. And then once we perfected the system, started running these virtual events, these client getting events for, people that are coaches, speakers, consultants, and that, they have this message in their heart. They have this message in their mind. They just don't know how to get it out there to the world. So we step in and kind of just make sure that they don't have to worry about the tech. They don't have to worry about the automations, all that stuff that sucks to do. We come in and do it for them to make it easier. So I've been on this journey for a while. It's been really cool because, Aaron, you've been in this space for a while as well. It's really cool to see how marketing evolves and team, like how the way you build teams kind of evolves over time as you grow as a person. So it's been a really cool journey.
I think that the way that I always know if somebody's got a strong name is when you start asking around about them and how people are talking about them, especially if you've been around a while. I always tell people, like, I feel like our name is gold because we work really hard at making sure we create the best experiences and we don't show up saying we can do something we can't do. And we make sure that we always show up and do what we said we were going to be there to do. And when I started asking about you, because Scott Benham actually was the one who was like, hey, have you met my boy Mike Tucker? He's on that team. And so, but it led back to like Rachel Stivers on Advance Your Reaches team with Pete Vargas. And like every time your name came up in every circle, everybody's like, that guy is a freaking smart dude. So I just want to give you kudos on, I think once you've been around in an industry for a while, you can either really tarnish your name or you can really make a name for yourself. And I think that you've really made a great name for yourself. So
Thanks, man, for the kind words. I appreciate that. Never thought I would be here. Never set out to be doing, marketing or helping as an entrepreneur, which is like one of those new words that everybody's talking about, but it's been really cool. And, Aaron, what we started out is, I don't even know if you know my whole story. It all
I don't.
started out just by me adding value to one coach, and he was my coach. I just got out of college. I went to a small Christian university. I went to school for Christian missionary studies and business. So at the time, my girlfriend and I, which is now my wife, we started a nonprofit, and we were just going around taking people on mission trips around the world, going to Uganda, Guatemala, and just taking people on trips. And then I got out of college and like, I can make some money. I just got married. I got to figure something out. And so one of my friends came up to me and he said, hey, why don't you learn real estate? He was a real estate coach. He just started his business, very fresh business. And he said, I'll coach you. And so I showed him my bank account. I said, I can't afford your coaching. So we're going to have to figure something out. And this is where really my first time, Aaron, stepping into like as an entrepreneur and, stepping into marketing and operations was this time, because we actually made a barter. And he said, hey, how about I coach you for free and you just work in my business? And at the time, he had no employees, so he needed some help. He needed somebody like the Collab team to come in and like guide the ship. And he said, why don't you I'll coach you for free. You come to the weekly calls I'm doing, and I'll just, you just build funnel, build emails, whatever I ask, you kind of just be there to help. And I said, okay. And so it was really cool because that was the first time I ever learned virtual events from Pedro, who we were just talking about. Pedro and his team, I think it was like right after they launched their first or second challenge, they actually coached us into doing it. And it was really cool. That was my first time diving into this space. And we took David, my real estate mentor's business, to $750,000 in just 10 months, which for me, I was making like $20,000 or $30,000 a year. So I was like, what the heck just happened? Like, this is crazy. But, and then what ended up happening, you're like, once you perfect something and master something, as you guys know, like it's so much easier to get referrals, especially if you are in the room to add value and just to add value only. And that's just always been my motto, is like my wife, and I think there's a borderline message between like undercharging,
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how to say it. My wife gets mad at me sometimes. I'll sum it up like this, because she's like, you should be charging more. But I'm like, I always want to be of value to these individuals. I always want them to go back and be like, oh, I owe Michael because he did so good. His team, Michael, his efforts so good. Like I owe him, right? And so what happened was, fast forward, because I'm telling this long story here, we just kept over delivering for David, my real estate mentor, his friends. He started referring me. We started over delivering for them. And then Nehemiah came into the scene 2018, 2019. And I started over delivering for Nehemiah and stepped right in. And since then, haven't left his company, been helping him run his marketing, run his, a little bit of everything, but mainly running his marketing for his virtual events. So it's been a cool ride, just seeing how the compound effect of just adding value and just being selfless can lead to so much reward.
Wow. That was a beautiful story. I had no idea about all that. Do you remember that feeling when you realized this is going to be like, you're not going to have to work for anybody else anymore? You're not working for yourself full time?
Yeah. Well, I've never actually, since high school, I've never actually worked for anybody. So
Nice.
that was kind of just ingrained in me. I don't like having like a boss. Like even with Nehemiah, I'm going to be honest, sometimes we butt heads a little bit, because I'm just one of those guys. I'm like, I'll do what I'm going to do. Like, let me stay in my lane. So since high school, I actually haven't had a boss other than like partners, right? Nehemiah and some of the other people I've worked with in the past and in the present. But no, it is cool. It is very liberating just knowing, Terryn, like every day. Like today, one of my friends, his dad passed away. I had a chance to go and support him and be at the funeral, right? And that's a cool thing, with what the collab teaches is like building an actual organization. I love the word organization because it's structure, right? It's structure. And that's what the collab team is really good at. They've actually came in and helped Nehemiah and our team bring about structure into our organization. And so, yeah, it's really cool, Terryn, whenever you get to kind of build the machine in a way that you can kind of go places when you need to and be present when needed other places.
I will say this, Pedro's one of them. Nehemiah is another one of them. Like these guys run hot. They run crazy, like a million different ideas going a million different directions all the time. And I think like they put guys like you and me and Terryn into play because they're the idea starters, right? They're the sharp end of the spear. You know what I mean? They're the guys that are the quick starts, right? So they're quick to jump on stuff, but they want to be able to like start it and hand it off and then trust that we're going to be able to process this thing out. I've noticed you've done it super well for Nehemiah as far as breaking out his whole process of these live virtual events and how you can like run them for people and how you keep coordinated all the different things I've seen. But in that, I feel like you're always learning, right? Always guessing. You're always up against something new, some new piece of tech, some new problem that you're in the middle of.
Right.
Is there something that you've come up against where maybe you remember it, maybe it comes to mind of a time that you came up against something you were like, this is a super hard situation to deal with. And you had to figure out something in the moment that was like just stressful and I'm sure crazy. But I think like you were saying, collectively has given you wisdom that you've been able to take on into the future and teach other people and grow from.
Many, many, many scenarios, I would say. So I'm sure you have many stories as well. I could tell countless stories of, client mishaps, because you're always learning as you're building a team and you're bringing on a bunch of new clients. You're always learning new process and new systems. But I would say, going back to you said Pedro, Neo, people of that personality type, they run and gun and have some fun, right? They're always at masterminds. They're always getting new education. They're bringing it back to the team. We need to do this. We need to do that. That's not a bad thing, right? That's how they're wired and they love it. But, over the past years, I'm going to say this is something I'm still working on, right? Is one thing that's been a challenge is like, how do you take all this, right? When you're trying to put out fires, but then implement new plays at the same time, how do you go about doing that? And I think over time, what I've learned with people with that personality type, one thing that they love is communication. And if you could just over communicate progress, if you could just over communicate goals to them, status updates on projects and tasks you're working on, I think that's what they want to see more than anything. And so over the past, I've had situations where they give you this big amount of tasks to do or these big visions, these big goals, right? And your scenarios, maybe all these rocks to go ahead and knock out for that quarter. And, but then things get piled on, more get piled on, more get piled on. But I've realized and what I've learned is that communication solves a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
And I've not always been the best at that. I'm just be honest, there's some times when I probably still need to improve it. But that's what I've learned more than anything is that whenever it comes to client management, communication almost trumps all. Whenever it comes to leadership with your team, communication trumps all, right? So I have many, many specific small scenarios, but I would say that overarching theme is something that always seems to be coming back.
Wow. Now, when it comes to people, I know I've heard you utilize a lot of different resources very well. And when I'm always asking you about hiring, recruiting, stuff like that, you're part of different Facebook groups, you're part of different groups in general. You do a lot of Philippines. Like, what are some of those tips you have for people on that's how you've been sourcing some great people?
Yeah. Whenever you're building a team, one thing I've learned from Nehemiah is always have that hiring machine on. Never quit. You never know when somebody's going to exit the company, move around to different places in the company. So, Terryn, that's really cool. So I really love hiring internationally, as you guys know. That's what we do a lot. We have a lot of independent contractors from the Philippines, India. But what I've just really found is like go where the people are, right? Go where the people are already congregating. So what I do, Terryn, is I'll just go and find the top digital marketing Facebook groups, the top Facebook groups on the softwares that our team uses, right? So High Level, ClickFunnels, Asana, all these. And I go to all these free coaching groups and I just live there and congregate there. And then whenever a hire is needed, I make the post. And if you're there and you add value, you're present, most of the time these group moderators won't care that you're making a job listing or job posting because you've been there, you've been adding value, right? And it's good for you to add value to those groups anyway, because it gives you and your brand exposure, right? So whenever the time comes though, and you need to hire, that's where most of these individuals are living, right? Because they're wanting to seek further education. And actually, our funnel builder that we brought on for Nehemiah, like what, 3, 4 months ago, he actually came from a Facebook group, right? So it was a Facebook group just all about digital marketing and advertising. Just made a post in there, was like, hey, this is what we're looking to do. This is what we need. And he reached out via DM. We set an appointment and went ahead and, brought him on the team. And so I would say there's not really any secret, but just finding where these people live at anyways. If you want high quality people on your team, you got to go where the high quality people are at, right? Where are they at masterminds? Are they coaching programs, right? Yash, which was his name, this dude already was getting coaching himself, right? So he was in that group seeking further education. So those are the people we want on our team anyways, the growth minded individuals. So that's where we go.
Yeah, that's such a cool idea because you're not going to where people are looking for work. You're going to the places where people are looking to learn and then finding people who are in those places who might need work.
Yeah, exactly.
Way different.
Yeah. I mean, with international hiring, that's a whole nother ballgame. We do the same thing with, like, if we need a virtual assistant and things, like we'll also hit up those groups. But, the basics, onlinejobs.ph is a great one, really just building out streamlined processes and systems inside a high level has been really game for us. We actually have a whole hiring mechanism and machine built in high level. So we could take applications and just run them through a hiring machine nonstop. So, but it's been really cool. You guys have actually helped us with some of our onboarding and HR processes. So we're excited to keep working the machine that you guys helped create.
I think it's so tricky as you grow teams. Because you want it, you have work that's needed, right? And so like you feel the pressure of we just need to get people in here to get it done, but then like you don't realize that bringing people in quick without having something for them to plug into actually creates more of a bottleneck, because then we got to slow down our best workers to be able to pour into the people that we're bringing on. So I do think it's so good to always be thinking about, okay, hey, so do we have SOPs for this role yet? Is there a solid job description around this role yet? Do we know exactly what they're going to do? Because and maybe you could fill us in on this, because I'd love your insight on this. My experience is that when you begin hiring overseas, the people are so talented, but they do so much better when they just have a real clear expectation of like, what do you want from them? And what is like definition of done? And then is somebody going to stay on top of them and making sure that like, no, they're getting done the things they say they're going to get done. Because obviously there's language barrier sometimes, there's culture barrier always, because you're hiring somebody overseas. Maybe walk us through that a little bit, like just process of like bringing somebody on and making sure they have a role and responsibility, and then making sure you have good like KPIs or metrics that you're tracking them on a daily basis to make sure they're getting their stuff done. Maybe.
Yeah, I think it all starts from the hiring, right? At the very, very beginning, what do you need this person to do, and what do you need them for in your company, right? So whenever we build out job descriptions, I'm very, very detailed of what you are going to do and what you're not going to do inside of our company. And that may sound bad, but it's for their benefit, right? So, hey, you need to know this software, you need to have these skills. You're not going to be doing these tasks, but you are going to be doing that. And then that already filters out a lot of individuals, right? A lot of people, like, let's say they need a graphic designer, they'll just post, hey, I need this graphic designer. Like, I need somebody that's an A-level graphic designer. Send me your resume. But what if I send from the very beginning, hey, we need a graphic designer who's able to work these hours. They must have this skill. Look at this portfolio. If you do not have this level of skill or better, don't even apply, right? And you give them all these scenarios and things to pre-qualify them. That's just the first step, right? So make sure that on the front end, your job descriptions and your listings, very detailed. Make sure you spend a lot of time on that, because it'll save you a lot of time on the back end whenever it comes to interviewing and hiring. But the second thing I'll say is, you said this, Aaron, and it hit the nail on the head. I think in the past, one of the big issues was we didn't have SOPs for, a lot of the positions we were hiring for. So when we would bring somebody in, especially a high quality player, they want to get in and just rock. They want to get right into it. And what I think a lot of business owners and a lot of operators think is like, oh, well, they're a graphic designer. They should know how to just jump in and do graphics. Or like, hey, they're an automation specialist. They should know how to hop in and do it. But I think we tend to forget that every business operates different, right? Mm-hmm. Even if we use the EOS system, like everybody has a different culture. And so it's really important that you build that out. And I think that for you guys, what you brought to us was just the importance of SOPs. And now Neo's like every single week, as you guys know, he's like, SOPs, we need the SOPs. And like, but it's so true. It's like the foundation of it all. So having a very, very detailed onboarding process has been really game changer. We have Caleb, who's on our team, is now like with operations, which he's phenomenal. He comes in and, for example, we're hiring a social media marketer this week, and we're hiring a call specialist. Like, he actually has the team now built out a full few weeks. I think it's like 2 to 3 week plan for onboarding one person. And, a lot of people are like, what, 2 to 3 week plan? I just plan to meet with them once and then send them on their way. But no, like, hey, check-ins with them, right? Making sure they're, acquainted to all the softwares, not just one software, all the softwares, and making sure they know how to attend the meetings right. So I think they're actually expanding in our company like to 6 weeks onboarding process, which Caleb told me last night, which is really cool because, coming back when we first started, it was like zero onboarding process. But so I think number one, job description, super detailed. Number two, like you said, I don't have to, keep talking about it. SOPs, super detailed, what you expect them. And number three, make sure your onboarding process is super smooth. And I'm going to be honest, the onboarding process, I feel like is just as important as the other ones, because if you don't have that, what happens is people feel like they're not supported. People feel like they just kind of were left out to dry. And then what happens, we actually had this happen a while back. We didn't have this so much in place. And we had a really good person on our team come in, and 3-4 weeks later left because she didn't give us much thought or much opinion on it. But we pretty much think it was the onboarding process, right? Because she didn't feel supported in the process. So that's super important for retention of these new hires. You guys know how long it takes. Sometimes it takes thousands of dollars to hire a new employee, right? We pay agencies sometimes $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 to place an employee in our company. Plus, it takes hours to bring on just one person. So might as well have the systems right on the back end to minimize any repercussions that may happen later. So, but yeah, I really feel like I'm speaking to the experts here. So you guys like know this probably better than me. So, but I hope somebody listening, can kind of just get that confirmation. Even if you're just 3 or 4 person team, you need to have SOPs. Even if you're just a 4 or 5 person team, you need to have an onboarding process, right? And so that's one thing I've learned from you guys and just experience over the past 7-8 years is like, size of the business doesn't matter. You still need structure, right? You still need organization.
Yeah, it's well said. I mean, the SOPs, the onboarding checklists, and then the most often forgotten one, the offboarding checklist. How many people still have access to applications who haven't worked there in 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, especially when you're growing a team. I mean, you guys know there's a lot of slippage that can happen, right? When you're running a team of 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 people, I mean, you forget to unsubscribe somebody from Slack. That's $100, $200 here. You forget to remove them from this other software. That's $1,000 over a year. So it can really add up financially as well if you don't have these things in place.
Yeah. Well, what's something, Michael, today you wish you could have told Michael way back in the beginning, just starting out, that you've kind of learned over the years?
Yeah, I think there's a few, but number one, I would say value your time a little bit more. Whenever I first started, I just was so stoked that you could make with virtual events $100,000 in a day. Or like, I just was like, I've never seen that before. And what that often did, because I was so excited and so, ambitious, I would just spend all my hours, all my time, right? And whatever ended up happening is it became a habit, right? And that bled into my personal life. And now I'm fighting that habit still to this day, trying to get out of the weeds of working 50, 60 hours a week, right? I wish I would have set my business up like the Collab teaches, from the very beginning, setting up the structure in place, the boundaries in place. I think boundaries is one thing that I didn't set soon enough that I wish I would have just from the jump, set up boundaries of when I'm working, when I'm not working, what I'm going to accept in my personal life, what I'm not going to accept in my personal life. Because I think a lot of times as business owners and operators, we take pride in, business is my hobby. But I'm going to be honest, how long can you say that before it starts affecting your personal life? And I love talking to Terryn on Monday calls because I can just be like, what'd you do? And he's like, oh, I just bought a tractor this weekend, right? He's telling me like, you can really see the people that have, I'm not going to say mastered it, but have really made this a priority in their life, because when you talk to them, you could just hear the joy and the energy that they brought on a new week, like Terryn, I just explained. So that would be one thing, Aaron and Terryn, for myself is boundaries. But then also at the same time, I think something that goes hand in hand with it is valuing yourself a little bit more. I told you guys at the beginning that I always wanted to over deliver. And sometimes, that'd be like, making sure that, hey, I'm not charging $20,000 for a job, and maybe it's, 5 or 10. But I think at the very beginning, I wish I would have realized how valuable the skills I had. And I'm not saying I'm the best in the world, but I wish I would have realized that this skill I had, and anybody listening or watching, I hope you guys realize the skill that you have is more valuable than you know and more valuable than you think. And so earlier on, I would have probably took that, said, Michael, take that, a little bit more to heart. What you have right now, this skill and this knowledge is so, so valuable. And then, build your actions upon that, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are two very, very awesome learning points anybody can use along in their journey. And it is very easy for us to get caught in the trap that when you're good at what you do, it makes you feel good. So then you just want to do it even more.
Right.
But then you're shutting out everything else in your life. But then you still feel good because you're doing good at what you do. And then it's just this vicious cycle. So very well said on that.
Yeah. I think it's so tricky. Terryn teaches me all the time that exact thing you were saying, Tuck, is I feel like I can get so deep in the grind, you know what I mean? And I'm like, just like meeting after meeting after meeting, and like wedging things in. And Terryn's so good at like, you know what? I'm going on vacation for 2 weeks and I won't have my computer. So I hope that works out for you guys. Like he's like, he'll set it all up. He'll make sure everybody has what they need, but he's not going to carry it with him. Like as he walks out and he goes and he does the things he loves to do. And I do think Terryn, like work-life balances are super important thing because like I know for you, you're a young dad. You know what I mean? And it's different when you're single, and then it's even different when you're newly married but you both are young, and you both have activities, but then as you become like more and more having family and more things pulling at you, I do think creating good boundaries, that's a really good word.
Yeah, and I think it comes from I think a lot of people can't do what Terryn does. And I think it stems from a lack of confidence too, a lack of confidence in your structure, your team, sometimes maybe even yourself, right? I think that's a really, really deep conversation that can be had around there is like, Terryn could probably leave and just say, hey, I'm leaving my laptop at home. I'm going camping or I'm going to do X, Y, Z because he has confidence that he's prepared. He has confidence in his team. He has, he's good. He's ready to rock. Like, hey, if I did my part, question is, are you guys going to do your part now? Right. So I think that's another thing that, just anybody listening is building that confidence and being prepared in a way that, you can get to that point. So I think Terryn, just from me evaluating, maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe Aaron sees something behind the scenes I don't see, but I can definitely tell that you've put in some time really mastering that skill, and that's come through a lot of preparation on your end. So just want to give you kudos for really being a great example.
Yes. Came from trial by fire. I had to learn the hard way too.
Came from being abused by terrible bosses for a lot of years. And he's like, no more. Now that I'm doing this on my own, I'm on my own stick. This is how this thing works. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Michael, if people want to get in touch with you, I know Nehemiah does a great thing. You do a great thing for Nehemiah on helping people, like you said, take the burdens off. A lot of people have like vision and they have something they want to get out there and pedal to the world or make known, and they see the virtual challenge model or live event model, but it's intimidating and they don't know where to start. They don't want to go buy a team or they don't want to pay somebody a ton of money to go do it. Like, how could people get in touch with you, get in touch with Nehemiah doing those kinds of services for them?
Yeah, you guys just go to partnerwithneo.com, partnerwithneo.com. I spend most of my time working with Neo on his events and what we do. So, that link will take you to book a call with us, I believe. I think there's a short questionnaire and application. If you're really interested in one of your clients or even yourself, going and having us run your events, we'd love to have the chance to look at what you and your business is all about. But again, thank you guys for giving me the chance to be on here and share my story. Love what you all do. Love what you stand for. You guys are an awesome team. They did not pay me to say this, but if you're listening to this and you haven't connected with the Collab team and you haven't found a way to learn their ecosystem and their model of business, definitely tap in with them. You will not regret it.
Man, Tuck, thank you, brother. So good to have you on the show today. Super grateful that you spent some time with us this afternoon, and just very grateful to work alongside of masters like you in our clients' businesses. So Hope you have a great day. Those of you tuning in for Ops Experts, man, thanks for taking another show with us. And we'll see you next week back here on the show. Have a great day.
See you guys.
See ya.
Thank you for tuning in to the Ops Experts Club podcast. New episodes available every week on Spotify, iTunes, and everywhere you listen to podcasts. If you're curious about how some of the biggest names in entrepreneurship have scaled their businesses to the next level, check out some of our best content on this topic by going to foundationsthatscale.com. You can find the link in our bio and do your part to improve as an ops expert.